Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ICT Workforce Webinar number 2, entitled Diverse Pathways to Promising ICT Careers. This is a webinar and workshop series aimed at increasing awareness of information and communication technologies career pathways and collaboration between local government agencies, community-based organizations, and educational institutions. It's a partnership of the State Workforce Investment Board, the California Workforce Association, the California Emerging Technology Fund, the Stride Center, and the Mid-Pacific ICT Institute. And we're really pleased that you're all here. Note that this is a re-recording of the live webinar that was held at the California Workforce Association's Youth Conference in February. At that conference, introductory remarks were made by Tim Rainey, Executive Director of the California Workforce Investment Board. Today, I will be doing the introductory remarks. My name is Bob Lanter. I'm the Executive Director of the California Workforce Association, and again, thrilled to be part of this partnership bringing the ICT workforce webinars to you. ICT is increasingly becoming more critical to the state of California and to all of the organizations involved in this presentation today. Let me just quickly do introductions on who's going to be speaking, and then I will go ahead and turn it over to our first speaker. We have James Jones, who's the Executive Director of the Mid-Pacific ICT Center. We have Jennifer Riggs, Associate Vice President of California Emerging Technology Fund. Jackie Cruz, Executive Director of Advancement from Hartnell College. Joe Welch, Lead Faculty, CSIT in 3, Hartnell College. And Barrie Hathaway, Executive Director of the Stride Center. Again, as I said, ICT careers are becoming increasingly important to all of us in California. These jobs are critical and cut across all industry sectors. Additionally, the training that's involved in getting somebody familiar with ICT types of opportunities allow people who have been long-term unemployed and have significant barriers to employment to get back into the world of work and begin building and earning income pretty quickly, moving on to a career pathway. And we're going to be talking about that today. It's not just one career pathway in ICT. It's a diverse patchwork of pathways that leads people across all industries in California. And we need to rise to the challenge of the skills gap and meet the demand that our business sectors are looking for. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to James and to start us off.
Thanks, Bob. Hi, I'm James from MPICT. We live in a world that's increasingly affected by information and communication technologies. I'm not sure if anybody recognizes this, but when I was growing up, this was the epitome of cool, the bridge of the USS Enterprise. And at that time, we thought we'd never see anything that cool in our lifetime. Actually, everything on the bridge of that ship exists today. All the communication devices, the controls, the screens, even the universal translator. The guys downstairs in the warp drive technology are way behind, but ICT is going gangbusters. ICT is an umbrella term, information and communication technologies, and we combine it with digital media to make sure that that's included. We need a word that encompasses all of the rapidly emerging, evolving, and converging computer-related technologies. Software, networking, telecommunication, internet. It's a superset term. Hardware doesn't do very much without software. Software doesn't do anything without hardware. Networking is a combination of hardware and software. It doesn't mean that other terms like networking or telecom go away, but we need a word to represent this big picture. And we didn't make it up. It's used pretty much everywhere in the world where you go that you need a passport. United Nations, European Union, World Bank, International Telecommunication Union. And there's a very practical reason for using this term. We tend to use the word IT in this country, and that's possibly the worst single search term you could invent on the internet, because you search it and you get every article in the English language because it's an indefinite pronoun. ICT, on the other hand, allows you to get information that's really just relevant to this sector or cluster. Today, everybody increasingly depends on ICT. Students rely on it. Doesn't matter what field they're in. It's how they find schools. It's how they apply to schools. It's how they sign up for classes and get their homework, understand their syllabus, communicate with their teacher, do their research, complete their assignments, do their presentations. Workers increasingly depend on ICT in every industry and most jobs. You can't be an airline attendant today without being able to work with computers. You can't be a car mechanic without working with computers. It's essential for workplace success regardless of the workplace role. Organizations increasingly depend on ICT. It's how they get their productivity. It's how they communicate with their suppliers and customers. It's how they organize themselves and manage their operations. It's increasingly strategic for most organizations in all industries. And society increasingly depends on ICT. Government services are increasingly delivered via ICT. A client comes into a WIB, and the first thing that happens is they're referred to websites. It's increasingly how families stay connected. It's increasingly how we get our entertainment. So just to give a sense of the scope of this cluster, here's some information from the San Francisco Bay Area region. ICT industries, those that create goods and services related to ICT, were about 1 in 10 companies in the Bay Area, employing about 1 in 10 employees in the Bay Area. And they expect significant job growth, 7.8% between 2012 and 2015. That's 17.5% of all the employment growth expected for all industry employment in the Bay Area. Primary ICT industries alone generate $200 billion in sales revenue in the Bay Area, 17% of all sales revenue in the Bay Area, and they generate $77 billion in earnings, which is $1 in $5 in earnings in the whole Bay Area. Additionally, there are multiplier effects. Here's one from the Bay Area Council that says 4.3 additional jobs are created for every tech job, which is much higher for the ICT sector than it is for example, manufacturing at 1.4. So the economic impact of this industry cluster is enormous in the Bay Area. But unlike a lot of other industries, you don't just work for ICT industries if you have an ICT workforce role. You don't just work for Cisco or Microsoft. You could work for any organization in any industry, including healthcare, business. Where would Charles Schwab be without ICT? Biotech would not exist as an industry without ICT. There are good ICT workforce jobs across the whole economy. So looking at ICT workforce or occupations in the greater Bay Area, about 333,000 people, about 1 in 12 jobs in the Bay Area. And these are good jobs. Median salaries are about $90,000. They're expecting strong job growth, 6.1% from 2012 to 2015, with about 14,000 annual job openings. It's a booming occupational sector. And here you can see online job postings through Burning Glass for for California recently, and you can see some of the really high demand. Anybody who looks through job postings today will be struck by the number of them that have ICT technical requirements. Importantly, over half the companies in California are reporting difficulty finding appropriately skilled ICT workforce. And this isn't just ICT industry employers, this is all kinds of employers. And this is really just a bad, messed up situation that we need to come together to address. We need to be preparing people for the workforce roles that are in demand. CompTIA talks about this as an ICT skills gap problem. So ICT is becoming increasingly important strategically to business. And 93% of employers say there is a skills gap problem in their IT departments. 6 in 10 say they're not even close to where they want to be with IT skills. The biggest deal is foundational stuff, the basics, and 80% say that this skills gap problem affects at least one area of their business. So customer service, security, staff productivity, it's holding them back to have this skills gap problem. It's slowing our economy and their success. This problem's going to get worse too because of the retirements, the pending retirements of so many baby boomers who are in these workforce roles today. The state of California government and PG&E, for example, both worry that up to a quarter of their existing IT workforce may retire in the next 5 years. They can't find the workforce they need today, and they're losing a lot of their existing workforce soon. This is approaching a crisis. Here's a simple model to describe depth and breadth of ICT knowledge and skills. At its base are users, and today everyone is a user. This is the dimension of digital literacy. No matter what you study, no matter what you do, in order to be successful in life today in the 21st century, you need to have a basic competency with this stuff. You need to understand how to work these technologies, and you need to be able to use them effectively to improve your life and add value to what you do. The line just above it, helpers, those are entry-level positions, people who understand how to use systems well enough to help other users, to help them get on systems, to help them use systems effectively. These are help desk kinds of roles, network support specialists, roles like that. And these are good jobs. They're life-supporting jobs. The central layer, the enabler layer, is really applied technology. These are jobs in IT operations in all kinds of organizations, again, across all industries. They take mature ICT technologies and they deploy them as infrastructure for the benefit of their users. They build networks, they build data centers, they operate systems, and they're increasingly essential to, again, all kinds of organizations. At the very top of the pyramid, the creators, these are the scientists, R&D, engineering roles, those that create the innovations that drive the economy of the future. Typically, people go through university pathways to get to those roles, but they're essential for economic success, that we have people who are going to drive those innovations for the future. The spreaders just below that are the marketing and sales roles, people who take the innovations of the creators and get them out there and get them adopted by the enablers, the enterprises in the center layer of this model, and also by the users, the end users, individual people, in whatever their role is in society. On the far left, there are some industry-specific knowledge and skill sets. If you work for an airline, for example, you need to know how to do online reservation systems. If you work for a financial industry, you need to understand online trading systems. On the far right, there's some enterprise-specific pieces of this. You'll need to understand unique applications developed for your organization. But the majority of the knowledge and skills in this sector are generally applicable. They're transferable across industries. There's a phenomenon of ICT migration. You see that downward arrow on the left. That is that what starts off as very specialized knowledge and skills becomes increasingly accessible over time. For example, desktop publishing. At some point, the idea that you would be able to publish a book using a computer was pure science fiction. That technology was developed by creators, and it was pushed out initially to enterprises, enablers, people who had specialized training to do desktop publishing. And an occupation was created for desktop publishers, and people were hired in those roles, and they became successful. Today, the numbers of people employed in those specialized roles are decreasing. But that's not because desktop publishing has gone away. Rather, it's because it's become more accessible. It's been pushed down to the user level. And today, it's a reasonable expectation that everybody have desktop publishing skills. It's now a part of digital literacy. So with that introduction, I would like to pass the mic over to Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Riggs, and I'm with the California Emerging Technology Fund, or CETF, as we're frequently called. We're a statewide organization that is dedicated to closing the digital divide in California. And our goals for that are to ensure that at least 98% of households have access to broadband, and that at no less than 80% of households have broadband at home and the skills to use those. So we'll start off just by examining what does digital literacy mean. A lot of people kind of get confused about the bottom level of that pyramid that James was talking about. So what does digital literacy mean? There's some vagueness there. And we'll just start with, well, what does literacy mean? If you go to the dictionary for that, you'll see the definitions of the ability to read and write, or a second definition, the knowledge that relates to a certain subject. And so if you look at digital literacy, you can expand that to the ability to read and write using digital technologies. And so to find, evaluate, utilize, create information, and then and content using a range of digital technologies and communication technologies. And so just with previous concepts of literacy, there's a wide range of digital literacy. So if I ask a group full of people, are you literate? There's context there. If I'm asking you, are you culturally literate? Are you literate to a 5th grade reading level? Are you literate in desktop publishing? Are you literate in all these different levels? You might say yes, or sort of, or I'm not sure. And so with digital literacy, there are different levels as well. There is, however, an importance to digital literacy. We do need to start at that bottom level and make sure that everybody has the ability to get along in today's world. People without the ability to access broadband internet are marginalized today and they're going to be more severely marginalized as our society continues to really have more and more of technology integrated into everyday life. So as people may have heard, there are school tests now with the Common Core being integrated into education here in California. All the school tests are going to be done on computers. So if kids have been exposed to computers at home, if they're used to having them around, if they have a literacy about how to type on computers, how to turn it on, how to learn on a computer, then they're going to have an advantage. And if the kids don't have those experiences, if they don't have the ability to learn on a computer, they're going to be further disadvantaged in taking school tests. The GED is now only available on a computer. You cannot take a paper version of the GED anymore. Anybody working at a WIB already knows that most job applications have to be done online. Unemployment insurance has to be done online. Cost savings such as travel, those kinds of things, all are benefits that people who have a basic literacy with using digital technologies have that a lot of us who sort of take it for granted might not realize. So digital literacy can be thought of and should be thought of as a continuous learning process. We can always learn more information, and there will always be more technologies to learn as well. And this is an important concept because we're working with people who are looking for jobs at an entry level. We're working with people who are long-term unemployed. We're working with people who are re-entering the workforce. And we also have to think about digital literacy levels for our own staff. So people who are currently employed, have they had the opportunity to think about their own digital literacy level? Have they been growing as well as technology has been introduced and has been integrating into our daily operations? So definitions, assessments, class types, all those kinds of things will vary, but everybody needs a basic digital literacy as a basis for any type of employment. Like James was saying, this is the basis for entering into the workforce, into any type of industry. And so there is a ICT digital literacy policy framework for California. This is an example of a basic digital literacy framework that is available for you to use as a sample. There are others available as well. The Department of Labor has one that focuses a little bit more on including the different types of technologies that need to be looked at as well. So for access, you need to be able to identify the key parts of a computer, the switches, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to use a mouse, how to connect to the internet, and then also how to be safe on the internet. When you give somebody a tool, you want to make sure they know how to use it safely. How to manage the operating system, how to do folders and files and menus and locate the information. How to integrate the information and the content, so how to compile information from different places, how to evaluate that information, how to judge the source, and how to use the communication technology safely, how to create and then alter and save word processing documents and how to format them, so how to create letters. Before literacy meant how to write a letter, and now we type letters and we create them in word processing documents. And how to communicate, so how to create an email account, how to select secure passwords, how to have appropriate email etiquette. how not to shout and those sorts of things, how to identify potential scams and use attachments. So keeping in mind that everyone needs the basic level of digital literacy, what is a potential next step if you've gotten your basic digital literacy in school, and your next step is off to community college? And for that, I'll introduce Jackie Cruz and Joe Welch.
Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe and Jennifer. I just wanted to make a couple of comments before we get started. So today we're excited to share a new program that is called CSIT in 3. CSIT in 3 is a program that allows students to obtain a bachelor's degree in computer science in 3 years. CSIT in 3 is a joint program with Hartnell Community College District and California State University, Monterey Bay. Our lead faculty, Joe Welch, will be giving you an overview of the features of the program. But before we get started on that, I really wanted to highlight some of our key players and some of the people that frankly helped get this off the ground, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. So I want to acknowledge both the president at Hartnell College and the president at CSUMB for providing leadership and supporting a new education model for a bachelor's degree completion in an accelerated manner in a complex subject matter as computer science. Both faculty at both institutions for articulating a clear pathway and for getting rid of all the obstacles for our students and having the heart and the intent to make sure that they were successful. Administration on both sides definitely were very supportive, and also our high school liaisons and our feeder schools who helped us with the recruitment process. And one important aspect of this is that we have a wonderful philanthropist. His name is Andy Matsui, who provided seed funding for the program, over $1 million. So we definitely want to acknowledge that. In the near future, we will be placing our students in internships, and we will be working closely with our industry partners. But for now, I wanted to just kind of wanted to tell you about these folks that really helped out, so you could think about them as Joe starts to describe the program and the different components of it.
Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate it.
And with that, I'll hand it to you.
So what I want to do is take the audience through a path that describes initially what the challenges are of the program, and then specific elements that we put into place to address some of the classical challenges. So most important takeaway from the program, as Jackie mentioned, is this is a collaborative effort between Hartnell College and CSUMB, and it really transcends collaboration. The team that works on this particular program is one team, and when the students join the program, they are members of Hartnell College and CSUMB for the duration that they're in the program. So here's some statistics that keep us up at night. Some of you are probably very familiar with them. And our CSIT in 3 program that we designed was trying to respond or address or mitigate these statistics. So first one, 81% of the students entering a community college say they plan to get a bachelor's degree. 11% do. 2/3 of our computer science information technology jobs will go unfilled, and that relates to what James said earlier. And then also 6.8% of the technical employees in Silicon Valley are underrepresented minority groups. That represents an existing challenge and also a marvelous opportunity, particularly for our college and CSUMB that sits 75 miles from Silicon Valley. So the CSIT program is singularly focused at addressing these particular challenges. There's many reasons, and these reasons have been accounted for in myriad sources of research. Again, the CSIT in 3 program tries to address some of these shortfalls and if not eliminate them, at least minimize them. So the pathway through the community college and university is not clear. It varies in time. It varies in course offerings. There are tremendous financial challenges, both the day-to-day living as well as the tuition that's necessary from both the community college and the CSUs. Because of number 1 and number 2, the students can come in behind and they can get discouraged. So that's one set of reasons. The second set, there's no exposure in K through 12 in computer science. And that informs or poorly informs the student, but more importantly, it's a result of the ecosystem of the student. So it's the surrounding opportunities, it's the aspirational opportunities in the valley. They're not aware of computer science. They also come in behind in math, and we have to address that, else we can't have them move successfully through a computer science program. There are no role models, and the students don't see that this is a pathway for them. They self-identify to the fact that computer science is a wonderful opportunity, but just not for them. And education and access are both lagging. So this graph that we see here really relates to what James mentioned earlier. It's the difference between the jobs that are out there and the talent pool that's available to fill those jobs. And let's focus on the bar chart that represents computer science and mathematics degrees awarded. And what we want to see in a perfect world would be alignment between the degrees and the jobs. And as you see, the jobs greatly outnumber by a factor of 2.5 to 4, depending on what your resource is, the available talent pool. So again, every computer science graduate, any CSIT graduate that we have, there's between 2 and 4 jobs that exist for that particular student. We think we can do better. So what we've crafted here is a program, and we are now beginning our second cohort into this program that can address some of the problems. And what we try to do is take the problems off the table or mitigate them. So we're talking specifically about cohort 1 there. You can see that there's 32 students. Our nominal cohort group is 34, and this is entirely a cohort model. All the students take all the classes together, and they only take the classes that are specified as part of the degree program. They start at Hartnell, and they earn a bachelor's degree from Cal State Monterey Bay. Their degree is in computer science and information technology. They'll be in the job market in 2016, and they started in 2013. Our students are from our valley. Our valley is Hispanic. In some areas of our valley, it's low socioeconomic. What we're trying to do is identify a pool, encourage that pool. They are amazingly capable students. They can do anything. And what we want to do is open up this pathway, both in aspirations and also in preparation. We want to do education differently. Some of the ways that we want to do it differently are identified by the bullets here. We're putting students at the center. We are not putting scheduling of courses at the center. We're not putting any specific institution at the center. This is all about the students and the student success. We also identified the sum tuition cost for this 3-year program. It's less than $13,000. As you know from reflection or reading in the common media now, that doesn't even touch the yearly tuition at many institutions. The students attend year-round. Once they start the program, they go for 33 straight months. There's a small break of 8 days at Christmas and also 8 days during the summer. Cohort-based learning, we put an enormous investment in it, both in the staff development, the faculty development for mentoring cohort-based models, as well as the student professional development, the tutoring development, the peer leading, and also the peer encouragement. And we also have a full-time computer science education coordinator, and her job is to oversee the academic progress and intervene as appropriate. Here's our pathway. I just want to highlight a couple things about this pathway. First of all, notice when they start their program, they're taking classes at Hartnell and at CSUMB. Then they have a winter course at Hartnell. Then spring 2015 has been adjusted. They have 4 classes at Hartnell and 1 class at CSUMB. We didn't realize how important it was for the students to identify that they are members of a Cal State university from the first day that they step into this program. They appreciate the values of all their opportunities, but they really appreciate the opportunity to be a CSU student from when they start. And that has provided significant benefit as we've tried to recruit additional students and discuss the program further. The second portion of the pathway that I'd like to point out is in the 3rd summer. You notice in summer 2016 there's an internship. We want our students to wallow, compete, work diligently in the workforce, and that's going to be done with an internship. We have a very vetted, proven internship model that we have done for 7 years at Hartnell and at CSUMB, and we're taking that model, we're making it available for the cohort, and then we're extending it into the valley. And that's a challenge that we have. We're certainly engaging that, but that's a significant component of proving the value of the program. We don't just want to have the students graduate. We want to graduate the students, and we want them to be competitive once they enter the workforce. So I want to point out some elements of the calendar because this informs us of what goes on in their typical week. We tell the students that when they come into this program that their calendar is spoken for. This is not your father's or your mother's college program. When they come to our program from 8:30 in the morning until between 3:30 and 5 in the afternoon and 3 hours every evening, we want their attention 100% on their classes and on the CSIT and 3 program. So in addition to the classes, we also have what we consider to be enrichment activities, and they're also developmental activities, and I want to point some of those out. So if you look at the calendar that's listed here by day and by hours, you can see the sprinkling of the courses like you might imagine. There's the calculus class, there's the composition class, there's the physics class. Note the left bubble. They're cross-enrolled into CSUMB. So they know about CSUMB. That exposes them to a whole nother network of mentors who can encourage them. It's a whole nother network of opportunities to study or opportunities for graduate work. So that expands their network in scale and in sophistication. If you notice the orange blocks, we have additional study and support time for students that are struggling. We call those our power hours. And for those power hours, we have students for that respective topic to help. We have tutors for that respective topic to help the students. We also have a myriad of peer mentoring, tutor mentoring, and intervention opportunities as you see sprinkled out through the required study times. Now if I can direct you to the right-hand side of the slide towards cohort enrichment, each Friday we meet with the cohort for 3 hours, and we have definitive goals for those meetings. Some of those goals would be something like, how do you succeed in a coding interview for a job? Or how do we teach them about broadening computer science fields such as bioinformatics. The Friday cohort enrichment is 3 hours. Once a month we do the Saturday cohort enrichment that lasts between 5 and 8 hours. And that allows us to do things such as field trips, that allows them to participate in hiring committees at organizations, that allows them to compete in programming competitions. And we do that once a week or once a month, and that allows us to come together for a little longer time than the Friday cohort enrichment. So we see some comparisons here. The traditional 4-year degree, which doesn't exist, the 4-year STEM degree does not exist. We have the 5 to 6 year plan, and we have the CSIT and 3 plan. In a couple of tenets there, it's 3 years. The total tuition is $12,000, and it's a deterministic plan. The students that finish will finish in 3 years. And we did that purposefully because that takes away some of the chaos of taking classes at a college, community college, trying to transfer and identify the transfer alliances, which varies according to CSU and UC, and then identifying the path once they gain it to CSU and the UC, which can also be relatively chaotic depending on which degree that they're majoring in. Our current status, we have 32 students. We're recruiting for the second cohort, and as I said, we start this evening for the second cohort. The touchstones that we tell the students are mastery. This is not high school. This is not frankly not the other college model. We're trying to get them to have mastery and adopt self-directed learning. There's a acculturation that we're trying to impart to the students. That's probably the most valuable tenet of the whole program. It's not easy, and it's done frankly by living with the students day to day. We want the students to be competitive. We have a lot of work to do. I want to highlight these students to you. These students are marvelous. You can see who they are. You can see some of their interests, which are thrilling to us. You can also see their GPA. And we don't want to overemphasize GPA because we want the students to understand that they need to create, they need to learn, they need to outwork their competitors. I do want to emphasize that this group of students, this marvelous group of students that we have in front of us on the slide right here, they probably would have been lost absent the opportunities offered by the CSIT and 3 program, whether the scholarship that Jackie alluded to, the coherent and very tightly interwoven academic program, or frankly, just understanding that the world of computer science exists and it's vibrant and it allows you to explore your passion. So this is who we think about when we think about our program. So lessons learned. We think that the students that you saw on the last slide have extremely high potential, and in every manner they can attain marvelous academic goals, they can attain incredible vocational and professional goals, but they've been lost in the system. But we think with the right expectations, the guidance, and the opportunities that we can make a difference. There are convoluted incentives that we don't need to speak to here. Those convoluted incentives are those that are optimal for institutions or for programs, but are not optimal for the students. And those incentives need to be withdrawn and reformed. And the third one are the challenges to the traditional boundaries. And again, we have systems that are optimized for the colleges, that are optimized for the programs, that are decidedly not optimized within for the students, and we need to reform that a little bit. That also applies at the boundary between university and work. So we're having a discussion with many of the organizations to say the way that you get your workers right now is probably not optimal for you. We're looking for a longer conversation than simply having them leave our institution and seek hiring at your organization. So some eligibility, we don't need to necessarily go through that in detail, but I do want to highlight that one of the biggest challenges we have is a calculus component. So you notice our students need to be calculus ready when they enter the cohort, or they're not able to enter the cohort, or they have to take a year in remediation or a year in catch-up. That's an educational challenge that we've taken on for the high schools, is we want to have additional capable students taking pre-calculus or AP calculus at their high schools. Here's what we emphasize every time we get together with the students. Bottom line is they can do anything, but they need to have a tenacious work ethic. A tenacious work ethic will open doors for them. It will open opportunities for them, and that we believe in the cohort learning community. So this is success. This is our mission statement. We begin every meeting with the cohort with this statement, and we introduce this statement for the first time to the second cohort this evening. So that concludes the presentation. I appreciate the opportunity. We're trying to do education differently to the advantage of our students in the field of computer science. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, James.
Barrie?
Yes, this is Barrie. Thanks, James. Everybody, this is Barrie Hathaway. I'm the Executive Director of the Stride Center, and the Stride Center is an anti-poverty nonprofit that focuses its work on workforce development, job training, and job placement. So far today, you've heard that there are and will be an abundance of really good jobs in the ICT sector. And you've heard that digital literacy is absolutely key to all workers in all jobs today. And we've also gotten to hear about some really great and very promising new academic pathways to these ICT careers. Today I'll be talking about another pathway to ICT careers through job placement and job training programs like the Stride Center. And I'll also spend some time describing the entry-level aspects of this field that make it ideal for many of our entry-level clients. Let's start by taking a quick look at a career roadmap that Microsoft puts together, and it's just one aspect of the ICT field. Don't worry that you can't read the details on this slide. The point is really the big picture. On the left chart is Microsoft's ICT roadmap. Each one of the different colored pathways leads to a different type of ICT career. Some of them include server administration, database administration, network administration, web development, and more. And each of the little dots on each of those pathways is representing a technical certification that becomes a credential for somebody moving into that field. So we see that there is a robust career path, and if you look at the inset, which is pictured over on the right, you see that on this career path at the base level, at the very base of it, digital awareness, and then you start moving up with basic fundamental courses like the A+ computer hardware fundamentals, the networking certifications. So the Stride Center is focusing its work at this core level to launch people into these careers that have this incredible potential. Further on the topic of ICT being a field with a robust entry level, let's take a minute to look at this chart from the latest DICE IT salary survey, which shows that this field is available to individuals who do not yet have a college degree, with average wages from $65,000 to $84,000 per year for individuals with no or some college. This field has a place for many of our clients. Not only does it have a place for our clients who do not have a college education, but this field also has a robust entry level that even pays well at the entry level. The highlighted jobs at the bottom of this chart, this again is a salary survey from DICE. Again, this chart breaks that down by average pay from the lowest to the highest. The Stride Center is focusing on basic certifications that are in PC repair, networking, server administration, security, and the certifications that we help clients get will launch them into these careers at the bottom of the ladder. So these are good careers with average pay between $39,000 and $68,000 a year, but let's not lose sight of the fact that there is tremendous upward mobility. Many of the careers that come up on this slide will require a college education. Nonetheless, we have a good start at a great career. So let's talk for a minute about what is required to get started in this field for a training program like the Stride Center. First of all, our clients must have a high school diploma or a GED. We're approved by the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary Education, and this is a minimum standard that they require us to hold. Our students will also have to have the ability to read at a 10th grade reading level. So sometimes we can go below that for the right individual, but there's a lot of reading in programs like this, a lot of reading in the technology field, and it's important that the client be able to do that. Obviously, we need them to be able to go to work. We need them to want to get a job, and we need them to be able to get a job. Nestor, pictured here, is a great example of somebody who met these requirements just. He was extremely low income, first generation immigrant family with no work history at all. Nestor completed one primary certification with the Stride Center, the A+ certification, and currently works for the University of California at Berkeley as an information analyst earning $40,000 a year. Also, it's important the Stride Center has been doing this work for 14 years now. And over the years, while the technology field has evolved, so has our approach to this work. There are a few things that absolutely matter in terms of helping somebody start a career in this field from a vocational perspective. One, technical certifications. Not all IT training programs emphasize the technical certification, but we know that that technical certification is a job credential that somebody without a college degree is going to need. So we focus very much not just on providing classes that lead to a technical certification, but we work with the client to make sure they obtain those technical certifications. In the world of IT, about 20% of people who take technical training courses achieve their certification. In the Stride Center's world, at least 75% of our students achieve their certifications. Also, in order for us to be successful, in order for our students to be successful, we have to spend time helping them understand what is industry appropriate professional and interpersonal skills. So we spend a lot of time in our program emphasizing those skills, practicing those skills on a daily basis, and they are the thing that I would say is so important for us all to understand about these skills is that anybody who's intelligent, and all of our students can figure out how to do this once it's explained and described to them. We're not changing people's personalities. We're helping them learn the kinds of behaviors they're going to need to mimic in order to do well in this field. Another important element of what gets results for us is work experience. An individual who has a technical certification and relevant work experience is very likely to get a job in this field. So we do what we can to make sure there are internal and external internships for our students to get that work experience. And then finally, very importantly, the development of a professional network is key. And while a student is with us, we're their professional network, but ultimately they're going to have to be able to manage and grow their own professional networks, and we get started with that in the program while they're with us. So what results has the Stride Center been able to achieve in the ICT field with this model that I've just described to you? These are our results. This is 3 years worth of results. So this is a very strong 600 or 700 job placements in these results. I'm going to go very quickly through them, but here's the point that I'd like you to understand. Job experience makes a big difference, and multiple certifications make a big difference. And when we do both, multiple certifications and job experience, that client is almost assured of getting a job in the field. So we start at the bottom. 21% of our students are employed in low-wage jobs when they come to us. We don't count those jobs in the job placement. When a student just finishes the basic technology fundamentals course, the A+ certification, and that's all they do, 60% of them will go to work. And then you can see as we climb the ladder, but if they also have work experience, 74% of them are placed. And if they have multiple certifications, 90% are placed. So we really want to make sure that as we're working on this in a vocational competency or context, that our clients are getting work experience and multiple certifications when at all possible. So I leave you with this final thought and understanding that many of the people that we're working with, young and old, can have great success in the ICT field. There is a lively, robust entry level that can lead somebody to a full-on sustainable career in the technology field, and we're very grateful to be doing this work. Thanks very much.
So it's unlikely we're going to have questions in a webinar environment, but I would say that it's very exciting and encouraging to see the workforce system and the community college system, community-based organizations, and all kinds of other stakeholders waking up to the strategic importance of information and communication technologies and developing programs and plans and policies to address this important and growing sector. This group and others will be collaborating in the future to provide some other webinars, and there's a whole bunch of other resources and reference materials that we'll try to share with you in other ways. Jennifer, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Just the last slide has some action items. We'd like for everyone who has seen this to feel free to forward it on. We encourage everyone to reach out to the other institutions to find out where they are in providing services to clients. So the idea being that you are part of the process, you are part of a pathway for the clients that you serve. Your clients come from somewhere and you're handing them off to somewhere. And it's really most beneficial to your clients to know where they're coming from and to know the organizations that are serving them before they get to you, and to know that the organizations that can serve them after you've been able to provide your services to them, and to be able to provide more warm handoffs and to understand the services that the other organizations provide. So we do recommend more collaboration and that you understand what other people are doing in the field. Also, we are building a resource section on the California Workforce Association website under the resources, ICT. If you follow the menu there, you will start to see some things being populated there. And so hopefully you'll check that out.
Great. Any other final comments? If not, thanks everybody and have a great day.